Good evening and welcome to the news at 22 hours. My name is Dingendaba Jonah Bioya. These are the stories making headlines. Government spent over 4 billion kwacha on road accident-related expenditure in 2015 alone. Bishop John Mambo has charged that the church has been compromised for the love of money and for the sole purpose of rubbing shoulders with the elite in society. These are the stories in the details. This evening, Acting President Nonga Wina has disclosed that government spent over 4 billion kwacha on road traffic accidents-related expenditure last year alone. Ms. Wina says this has been a very costly undertaking and a drain on the limited national resources. The acting president said this in Lusaka this morning during the second National Road Safety Indaba under the theme, Getting Involved in Promoting Road Safety, a Shared Responsibility. Ms. Wina says government is deeply concerned by the high and rising frequency of road fatalities. Details in the following report.
The United Nations General Assembly Resolution 64/2551 of March 2010 proclaimed 2011 to 2020 the decade of action for road safety in the world. This is aimed at reducing road traffic accidents by 50% before the set target of 2020. This plan is to be achieved by increasing activities conducted at national, regional, and global levels. In an effort to ensure that Zambia achieves the aspirations of the UN Decade of Action for Road Safety, the Road Transport and Safety Agency, in collaboration with the Office of the Vice President and the Ministry of Transport and Communications, today hosted a second Indaba on national road safety. The Indaba provided a platform for all stakeholders at national level to deliberate on road safety. The event was graced by Acting President Nonga Wina, who reaffirmed government's commitment to ensuring that road accidents in the country are reduced. Ms. Wina implored the Road Transport and Safety Agency to focus on what she has termed as the 3 E's, namely education, engineering, and enforcement, if cases of road accidents are to reduce on the Zambian roads.
My presence here this morning at this second National Road Safety Indaba demonstrates government's support and commitment to road safety. It is our collective responsibility indeed to enhance road safety. Let us avoid finger pointing whenever road accidents occur on our roads. This fight is not a prison of government alone, but should be a collective effort of everyone of us, as we all have a role to play. I challenge you all to take responsibility as ambassadors of road safety. You should all be agents of change. Ladies and gentlemen, this day reaffirms our commitment to an all-inclusive and collaborative approach towards road safety in Zambia.
And RATSA Board Chairperson Engineer Webster Nonde says the current indicators on road crashes and fatalities show that Zambia still has a long way from the desired position, which will give a higher assurance of safety to all road users.
Your Excellency, allow me to bring to your attention another initiative which the agency is progressing currently. The agency is in the process of relaunching the mechanized vehicle testing equipment at Mimosa here in Lusaka and 3 other centers across the country. Initially, the mechanized testing equipment will be used to test the mechanical integrity of all newly imported vehicles in the country so that we can ascertain their integrity as far as fitness to be on the road is concerned. The major benefit of this testing equipment is the elimination of subjectivity in the vehicle fitness certification process, thus enhancing road safety through safer vehicles. The relaunch of this initiative will involve all the identified relevant stakeholders.
And the Minister of Transport and Communications Permanent Secretary, Engineer Mishek Lungu, says frantic efforts have been made to ensure that the statutory instrument to restrict the movement of public transport at night is effected soon.
Your Excellency, I would like to assure you that my ministry is working closely with the Ministry of Justice to ensure that the statutory instrument that restricts movement of public service vehicles is timely signed to regulate movements in the night. We are confident, Your Excellency, that this measure, among other measures, will help to reduce preventable road crashes caused due to fatigue, poor visibility, and bad road use and behavior experienced on our roads during the night. We are aware of the economic impact the measure will have to our traveling public, but it is our common good as a country to protect life.
For the government to make significant strides in implementing the road safety action, which has been aligned to the United Nations Decade of Action for Road Safety and the African Road Safety Action Plan, there is need for concerted efforts in order to achieve the 2020 target. Albert Mpezeni, QTV News in Lusaka.
Always set a good example by choosing a safe place for crossing and explaining what you are doing. The problem.
Finance Minister Felix Mutati says the 2017 national budget will restrict the country's borrowing. Speaking during the Zambia Institute of Banking and Financial Services annual meeting, Banking and Financial Services Conference in Lusaka today, Mr. Mutati says government will also address the levels of subsidies that are constraining its ability to reduce its appetite to borrow. He says government will also engage in constructive conversation with the central bank to begin to gradually normalize the fiscal conditions. Mr. Mutati adds that government, on its part, will have a roadmap to address the arrears for the suppliers of goods and services so that they can begin to take the wheels of liquidity and improve the quality of assets. He further states that government will also come up with measures to enhance revenue collection.
We're also going to put in measures to enhance revenue collection. But we cannot enhance revenue collection if 30% of GDP circulates in cash. So as a primary strategy, through the financial inclusion strategy, we want to bring down that 30% of inclusion. So we're going to rely on your talents, on your capabilities, innovations, and we're hoping that whatever it is that you do, you will no longer be captured by the fear of risks, taking risks. When I look in the audience, I see smart bankers who are capable to make a difference. Let's work together to improve.
And speaking earlier, ZIBFS President Kefas Jabu says the institute remains committed to offering excellent professional and academic programs to practicing bankers, financial service practitioners and students under various strategic alliances with colleges and universities. Mr. Jabu says the institute plans to accelerate its growth by strengthening its mandate by way of a re-establishment under an act of parliament and developing its premises into an ultra-modern academic and commercial facility within the next 18 months.
The institute plans to accelerate its growth of strengthening its mandate by way of re-establishment under an act of parliament and developing its premises into an ultra-modern academic and commercial facility within the next 18 months. Last year, guest of honor, we hosted our first banking conference whose theme was Housing Finance in Zambia, Challenges and Opportunities. This year, We have upscaled the conference to an international banking and finance conference under the theme Financial Inclusion, Exploring Regional Best Practices. We do realize that Zambia aspires to become a middle-income country by 2030. However, this can only be achieved if the financial system becomes more inclusive so as to promote a broad-based financial intermediation.
And in a speech read on his behalf by Bankers Association of Zambia Chief Executive Officer Leonard Mwanza, Association Chairman Charles Mudiwa says the industry stands ready to work with government in providing financial services and products that promote financial inclusion for all.
This new KY requirements from all the regulators, the Central Bank, the Financial Intelligence Center, which sometimes we see as impeding the drive on financial inclusion. Yes, we do know that there's been a scaling down on financial KYC requirements as also as the minimum balance on certain specific accounts. But the question that begs to be answered is what risk or money laundering risk or terrorism financing risk can a person who earns less than $200 in a year or earns less than $100 in a month have to the integrity of the financial system? Yes, we've adopted these international standards, but maybe we need to look at our own local environment. What risks do?
Bishop John Mambo says the church is partly to blame for divisions in the country after the August 11 general elections. He says this is because the church has been compromised for love of money and for the sole purpose of rubbing shoulders with the elite in society. Bishop Mambo says the church has neglected its role of speaking for the people for fear of losing favors from the preferred political leaders. He says it is disappointing that the church has not done enough in reuniting the people after the divisions exposed in the nation by last month's elections. Bishop Mambo says the church should not take sides when it comes to national matters, but should come out in the open and speak for the people.
As the Body of Christ, we have not woken up to the reality that part of the division that we saw during the elections was caused by us. Rather than be ambassadors of God, we became ambassadors of certain leaders in political parties. Members of the church will not argue with their shepherds. They'll submit. And normally they'll die inside, but they'll act contrary. We have not demonstrated the true love in the messages that we've been preaching. Unity, togetherness, and in terms of the conflicts that we have seen, forgiveness, humbleness, stop name calling. I'm on the record having said that we have been compromised. We have cheapened ourselves. And the reason is very simple. Poverty has stricken the body of Christ. However, the ambassadors of God, the man of God, those that are the leaders of some of our
Public and Private Workers Drivers Association of Zambia, PPDAZ, has welcomed the plans to introduce a statutory instrument to restrict the movement of public transport at night. PPDAZ President Josiah Majulu tells QTV News that government should, however, go a step further in ensuring that other vehicles will not be used to transport people at night in the absence of public transport. Mr. Majulu says government must come up with preventive measures that will see to it that other modes of transportation such as trucks will not in this case be used as means of transportation of people at night. He notes that there is a danger that if this SI will only restrict public transport from moving at night or other vehicles are allowed to move at night, people will opt to use the available means of transport.
But we're also looking at this same law being applied to whichever motor vehicle will be carrying passengers in the night. Because the tendency that we have as citizens is that, yes, public service vehicles will be banned, but people will shift to using private motor vehicles. We will have a situation where a truck will be carrying 10 to 15 passengers in the cabin. We will have a situation where vanettes and these other private motor vehicles will be carrying passengers. And we've lost a lot of lives in road accidents involving private motor vehicles which carry passengers. We're talking of a Toyota Noah that carries more than 8 people from point A to point B. Today when you go to the streets, today when you go to the outskirts of this town, Mandevu, Cheston, you go as well to Makeni, you find the public, private motor vehicles struggling to pick passengers, and these are not registered to carry passengers. So we are only hoping that it will keep also the same vice so that people don't shift from using public service vehicles to private motor vehicles in the night, because the danger will still be there if this.
The National Restoration Party, NAREP, says the proposed creation of the Ministry of National Guidance and Religious Affairs will further compromise the church. NAREP acting spokesperson Frank Sichone says the church has been compromised lately, with most church leaders having taken political stances. He says while the suggestion of such a Ministry of Religious Affairs may be appealing on face value, a closer inspection suggests that the ministry will cause serious conflicts of interest, notwithstanding the question of credibility in considering whom is best placed to head it. Mr. Sichone says NAREP recommends that President Edgar Lungu should not introduce a new ministry for this purpose, but instead consider the appointment of a religious advisor as chaplain. He adds that the chaplain's role will be to directly advise the president and political leaders on religious matters. Mr. Sichone has cited the United States as one such example of a successfully functional chaplaincy where the church and the state run separately, with Barry C. Black serving as chaplain of the Senate. He says this model has ensured that whilst the state and the church are running separately, God is not separated from the state. Mr. Sichone states that at a time when the nation is facing serious financial challenges, the introduction of any ministry that is new will further exacerbate the country's financial woes. Christians Against Poverty in Zambia says it is anxious to hear the pronouncement President Edgar Lungu will make during his State of the Nation address in Parliament. CAPI's founder evangelist Gregory Chileshe says his organization's main interest is on how the government intends to tackle poverty. It says now that President Edgar Lungu has been given a full 5-year mandate, he has enough time to fight poverty in the country. Evangelist Chileshe says CAPI wants the president and the Patriotic Front government to help the people of Zambia who are suffering so that they are able to afford the basic commodities. He adds that they are hopeful that the Patriotic Front government have learned from their experience in government and will focus on uplifting the living standards of the people. The Foundation for Democratic Process, FODEP, is expectant that the next session of the National Assembly will be exemplary and committed to promoting democracy, the rule of law, and human rights and development. FODEP Executive Director Chimfwembe Mwenge says FODEP is hopeful that the next session of the National Assembly will pass progressive laws, including bills such as the access to information that has been stuck in Parliament for a very long time. He says members of Parliament play a very critical role in consolidating democracy, human rights, rule of law, and development, hence the demand for the elected representatives to operate above political lines and focus on the larger interest of the people of Zambia. Mr. Mwenge states that the people of Zambia expect members of Parliament to formulate laws that promote democracy, rule of law, and development. He says this process must be inclusive to accommodate the input of citizens and all other stakeholders through the principles of the separation of powers. Mr. Mwenge further states that FODEP expects parliamentarians to engage in mature and issue-based debates that bring value, dignity, and credibility to the House and consider policies that have longer-term interests of society, unlike forcing through decisions to satisfy the interest of the few through the arrogance of members in the House. The National Women's Lobby says it expects that President Edgar Lungu officially opens the first session of the 12th National Assembly on Friday the 30th of September 2016. He will not only provide guidance to the House on the urgent and important issues affecting the people of Zambia, but also address a number of issues affecting women. In a statement, ZNWL Board Chairperson Beauty Katebe says they expect that President Edgar Lungu will direct the Ministry of Gender to expedite the implementation of the Gender Equality and Equity Act, which will foster gender equality and equity in all spheres of our society. Ms. Katebe says ZNWL further expects the President to provide guidance to the heads of ministries and government departments to ensure that all programs consider the special needs of women and thus engendered to accommodate both men and women. She says this must especially be so for government departments with ministries that directly affect the welfare of women, such as the Ministry of Health, Agriculture, Community Development, Mother and Child, and the Ministry of Commerce. Ms. Katawe adds that they further expect the members of parliament to bring to House progressive bills that will build on the already existing legislation promoting the equal participation of men and women. She states that the lobby group expects female members of parliament to use their insight into the challenges that women face to ensure that such bills are passed into law. The Timber Producers Association of Zambia, TPAZ, has appealed to President Edgar Lungu to help remove all tedious procedures in timber licensing. TPAZ Vice President Charles Masange says the association has been advocating for the promotion of timber exportation. This is in a bid to strengthen the country's foreign earnings. Mr. Masange says it is clear that the dependence on copper for foreign exchange earnings is not working well for the nation, thus they need to try other sources. And Mr. Masange says President Edgar Lungu should consider calling for an indaba to discuss how the country can benefit from exportation of over 22 timber species. He says it is unacceptable for the nation to be poor when it is endowed with natural resources which, if prudently utilized, can help improve the lives of the people. Governance activist Leslie Chikose says and has advised President Edgar Lungu to take time to look at the reasons those opposing the creation of the Ministry of National Guidance and Religious Affairs have advanced. Mr. Chikose says it is important for the President not to ignore those opposing the creation of the new ministry. He states that the President should weigh the reasons given by those opposed to the creation of the Ministry for Religious Affairs against those supporting the decision. Meanwhile, Mr. Chikose has implored the Patriotic Front government to consider ways of cutting down on expenditure. It says it is important to look at how the country can utilize the available resources to create an environment for sustainable economic growth.
I think we want to see how really this country is going to create wealth so that we are not dependent on the IMF. I think that is from the presidential speech, that is what we are expecting on how we are going to ensure that we are not fully dependent on the IMF, and how we can see how we can create wealth using the industries or the investments that we have in this country. That is what we want to look at.
Chief Mugobela of the Ela-speaking people in Amala district has called for an enhanced approach in promoting good sanitation across the nation. Chief Mugobela says it is important that chiefs take the leading role in ensuring that there is good sanitation conditions in their chiefdoms for a healthy nation. He says he has been able to maintain the Open Defecation Status Award to his chiefdom by UNICEF in 2013, thereby preventing diseases that come with poor sanitation conditions. Chief Mugobela states that if all chiefdoms can achieve this status, the country would be on the path to curbing diseases that come as a result of poor sanitation. Born Short Living Tall BSLT Zambia, a registered organization whose aim is to empower the underprivileged people such as women, children, and the differently abled, has commended President Edgar Lungu for constituting what it has described as a great team of ministers so far. BSLT Executive Director Pastor Ntalasha Chisha says the appointments that the President has made so far are inspiring confidence of greater achievements for the next 5 years. He has cited the appointment of Finance Minister Felix Mutati as a good move considering the vast experience he has in that area. And Mr. Chisha says time for politics is gone, stating that now is the time to deliver the much-needed development in the country.
Our well-deserved appointments that we believe that the cabinet of President Lungu, once complete, will be the best cabinet in the history of politics in this nation. Women appointments are a step forward towards gender balance, and we commend President Lungu for appointing women who love to succeed at their work. Furthermore, we commend the President for establishing the Ministry of Guidance and Religious Affairs. We welcome the appointment of Reverend Godfrey.
Treatment Advocacy and Literacy Campaign TALC has appealed to President Edgar Lungu to consider appointing people living with HIV to key government positions. TALC Country Director Felix Mwanza laments that people living with HIV have been discriminated against when it comes to appointments. He says the President would be setting a trend by appointing people living with HIV to key positions. Mr. Mwanza notes that there are a lot of people who have publicly declared that they are living with the virus and are able to contribute to national development. And Mr. Mwanza has called on the new Health Minister, Dr. Chitalu Chilufya, and his finance counterpart, Felix Mutati, to see to it that the Ministry of Health is adequately catered for because of its importance to human development.
We need infrastructure, to be matched with, equal number of human resources. We need infrastructure to be equal with equal number of equipment and reagents, and ensure that all these particular facilities are functional laboratories, because just putting people on medication minus proper diagnosis, is not very helpful. We are aware that there is a lot of strides that have been made in this particular direction, but over and above, it is the fact that we do not have enough budgetary allocation to the Ministry of Health, and this is why we have these particular problems. So our hope and prayer is that this time around, and as the budget is being prepared, the Ministry of Health is going to come up with, attractive, budget lines that are going to make sure that the Ministry of Finance, hears, their plea and allocates, a larger, component of the budget this time around to the Ministry of Health. And also to the President. I think issues of stigma and discrimination towards people living with HIV have been doing circles in the past. It will be important for the President to, for instance, take it upon himself and ensure that this time around he appoints, a person that is publicly living with HIV, so that all those, doubting Thomases that think that people living with HIV cannot perform, can be shamed. We know that we have qualified and capable people living openly with HIV who can be equal to the task and help, the country in a lot of ways.
Grant Thornton has donated assorted items worth 72,000 kwacha to the Kasisi Children's Village in Chongwe District as part of its corporate social responsibility. Speaking when he presented the donation to commemorate Corporate Social Responsibility Day, Grant Thornton, managing partner Edgar Hamuwele, says his organization is committed to unlocking the potential for growth in the communities. Mr. Hamuwele says has called on individuals and various institutions to follow suit and help the children in need. He says Grant Thornton chose to focus on charity work because of the passion the organization has for the children. The donated items include clothes, meal, milk, paint, detergent, paste, and among other things.
Our core pillars in terms of corporate social responsibility are in healthcare, education, charity, and environment. It is an opportunity for everyone in GT Zambia and internationally to celebrate how we make a difference and unlock the potential for growth in our local communities. Our first CSR Day was last year on the 17th of September 2015, and we decided that would make Kasisi Children's Home our destination. We chose to focus on charity work out of our main corporate social responsibility strategic areas, and our emphasis is our emphasis is on long-term commitments and partnerships.
And it's very important and very needed for the children.
As we end our news bulletin, these were the stories making headlines in our bulletin. Government spent over 4 billion kwacha on road accident-related expenditure in 2015 alone. Bishop John Mambo has charged that the church has been compromised for the love of money and for the sole purpose of rubbing shoulders with the elite in society. My name is Dingendaba Jonah Bioya. Thank you for tuning in to the news in 22 hours. Visit our website if you're pleased to get more news. That's qfmzambia.com. But we have more news on our Facebook page as well. That's QTV Zambia. Have a lovely evening. Goodbye.